Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Yo, crazy crimes going on. When I be reading these titles, I'm like, is this like for real? Is this really for real? But it is. This is about a man who killed 4 people because he wanted a movie made about himself. Is this real life? Is it because every serial killer for some reason get a movie made about them, which I am against, by the way. I don't think they should socialize and put this stuff on TV because they got another John Wayne Gacy documentary coming out. How many do we need? Yeah, we know everything the man did. It's like they keep like putting it out there and just making people like this crazy and weird, and they kill people because of this stuff, and it really just mental health. But I just don't understand why would they do that? What was the point of this? Anyways, let's get into this reaction.
This was a very intimate attack. I mean, using a metal pipe to attack your victims is about as close and personal as it gets.
A brutal quadruple murder out of Iowa comes with a shocking motive. The accused killer wanted a movie made about the crime.
If he's saying that he did it for there to be a movie made about it, then in a sense, he's saying it was premeditated.
Bizarre motive aside, the disturbing facts of the case speak for themselves.
It takes a long time to kill people like that. It's not just like taking a gun to the back of their head. I mean, it took time to do this. You'd think there would be a moment of self-reflection where he would stop, and he didn't, and he did it 4 times.
So did the defendant suffer a mental break, or is he just a cold-blooded killer?
There was so much rage that was built up in him that it just boiled over into
was that the same person?
Of violence.
First responders in Lynn County, Iowa,
I feel like I saw like 20 different people.
Shocking scene on Wednesday, June 5th, when 3 people were found dead in an outbuilding. A 4th person was in critical condition and immediately flown to the hospital. He later died as a result of his injuries. Investigators soon zeroed in on a suspect in the case, 34-year-old Luke Truesdale of nearby Mary. Forensic psychiatrist Dr. Daniel Bober says the murder seemed personal.
The victims may not have known each other, but there may have been a connection to the assailant in some way. And what I'm saying when I say intimate and up close and personal is I'm saying this was not, a sniper that took them out from 1,000 meters. This was as up close and personal and getting your hands dirty as it can get. So I feel like there was so much rage that was built up in him that it just boiled over into this explosion of violence, and that's what makes me think that he knew them in some way or felt especially betrayed by them.
Officials identified the victims as 44-year-old Romotus Cooper, 33-year-old Amanda Parker, 26-year-old Keona Ryan, and 34-year-old Brent Brown. Brown was the person who initially survived but died 2 days later. Investigators say Truesdale admitted to the attack, saying he beat the 4 victims with a metal pipe. And what stands out to me about this case is that, as you're talking about it, it's very brutal. I mean, it was a lead pipe. You have to physically beat these people to kill them. So if you do this with one person, it wears you out, I'm sure. But he did this 4 times. I mean, that, if nothing else, takes quite a bit of time to go through all of these people. So what could be going through his mind at this point? I mean, you commit one murder, he didn't have remorse and just continued on. What do you think was going on there?
Well, to me, it's either a case where this is someone who's a complete psychopath and has absolutely no empathy and no remorse, and methodically takes them out and wants them to suffer almost in the most...
Anybody who can do this with no empathy don't care. These are just straight killers, especially when he said he wanted a movie made about himself. That tells you everything you need to know right there. Maybe he was like a hunter and he know how to do this or know how to kill things, so he see people as things. Weird way to look at it, but it's interesting if you do it that way, because you'd be like, what really makes somebody kill? How would they know how to kill? They had to practice on some before. Or they always say your first kill is the scariest. Once you get out the way, it's okay. Or it's like easier to do it.
Sadistic way. Or it's someone who had so much rage that was built up against these people that it just boiled over and there was no control. But again, to your point, it takes a long time to kill people like that. It's not just like taking a gun to the back of their head. I mean, it took time to do this. And for me, I think there would have been a moment, or you would think there would be a moment of self-reflection where he would stop, and he didn't, and he did it 4 times.
So how would investigators determine whether he is, as you said, a true psychopath, or whether this was a huge rage-induced incident?
Well, I think we would have to look at his history. Is this someone who has a history of mental illness? Has he committed other crimes? Has he committed other acts of violence? Is he using drugs or alcohol? What is his connection to the victims? So you look at cell phone data. You look at where he lives. Did he come
Is
into
that him?
contact with them previously? These
They
are all
show
things
so many
that we
people
look
I'm throwing
at
off.
to determine, one, what his connection was to
I think
them,
that's him.
and two, what his previous behavior was.
The case takes yet another twist when investigators revealed the alleged motive for the murders. According to court docs, Truesdale told investigators he wanted a movie made about him.
You know, I don't know if that line was out there just to grab attention, like what we're doing right now. But, you know, it's sort of almost part and parcel of what's going on in our society.
What I'm about to say is not good, okay? And take it lightly, but take it in the context of I'm trying to figure out what he's doing, okay, y'all? Look, there's serial killers like Ted Bundy, like John Wayne Gacy. What's that satanic cult dude? The one, well, he was not all that. I swear that dude was not all that. But all them girls was like wooning over him, and that was back then, you know. Nowadays, they got like different tastes. Not the point. But it's like those serial killers back then was no joke. Like they were literally like it was like decades of murder, and they were like really methodically planning things. Now, when I say the reason why I say take it lightly because of like how I'm wording this, I'm not saying that he should have perfectly planned this and like picked specific people because it's really dark the way I'm saying this. Okay, I ignore that. Okay, look, he killing random people. And that happens all the time. Those dudes, they kill random people, but they picked them out specifically and they made it even more creepier. And I don't understand. I think they only got movies made about them because of like the sick fascination with true crime and crime in general. That's why. But it's like none of these dudes, he's in that category because they're all disgusting human beings and deserve to be like put in the gas chamber and struggling for breath to the last day. Like that's what they all got that in common. All these killers. You kill 3 people, you're automatically a murderer. You're a serial killer, okay? But it's crazy that that's exactly what he wanted. Dude, what is his name? I already forgot it if they said it. Like, what? I just don't understand. And I think that's what he's about to say. This is like the world we come to now. People fascinate over murderers and they want to be just like them and want a movie, which should never be the case. Yeah, I worded that all wrong.
Instagram influencers and social media, where people are always looking to up the ante and to become more sensationalistic than they can possibly be and top themselves so that people will watch. Is this someone who, again, felt marginalized in his own life, felt like he was always on the fringes, that no one ever noticed him, and that this was the only way that he could get noticed?
Yo, I'm not, look, like, whatever, when I roll my eyes when they say stuff like this, I know it probably annoy people because they have, like, dang depression. Look, I get it, okay? People are, there are people who feel like they have nobody, that they feel like nobody care. I am just the type of person that if I ever felt like that, I would just go live my life. And you could do a lot without people. And you can enjoy your life without people. It's like you don't constantly need the attention of like wanting people to notice you. That's what makes people negative, and that's why it's like just focus on yourself and worry about yourself. There's so much to do in this world than being like sad that nobody's like looking at you or talking to you. You can make friends anywhere, and I think people need to realize that more. You can, and I'm not saying that's the case, but that's possibility. But this man is a murderer. I don't care what he did, but it's like there are people like that feel like that literally. You see it on TikTok, Facebook. They're always talking about how nobody cares about them. But it's like there's a lot more out here. You need to stay offline. That's the first thing. No, yeah, that makes sense.
You know,
don't dwell on the
attention
negative.
is better than no attention. It seems a little bit far-fetched that he would go to this length to achieve that type of recognition. But listen, we've seen it before. We've seen people who want their 15 minutes of fame, whether they're committing a copycat crime. It's possible, but it just seems pretty out there.
And to your point, this is something I've seen in whether it's true crime documentaries or podcasts, people like Ted Bundy who really wanted to be the center of attention. Once they were caught, kind of reveled in this limelight.
He was not cute.
Could that be the case here?
Maybe that era.
He did want his name out there to be known as this notorious killer.
It could be, but I think Ted Bundy was a little bit different. Ted Bundy enjoyed the cat and mouse game between him and the authorities. He liked the fact that they were stumped by him and that he was going from state to state, changing his MO and confusing them.
How is she was
He
smiling
fancied
with him?
himself to
What
be
is
this
that
evil
picture?
genius
They
that
should
was
arrest her
outsmarting
just for that.
police,
What
and
the
he
heck?
got, I believe, a certain rush from that. This might just be someone who, in his mind, thought the more brutal the crime, the more over the top, the more it will get noticed and the more press it will get.
The movie was really the motive in this killing spree. Is it possible Truesdale has a fascination with true crime? Would you be surprised if we went into his past and took a look and he's a huge crime junkie? He listens to these podcasts, watches the shows, etc., that maybe he was studying it in some sort of way?
Would not surprise me at all. We've seen that in mass shootings. Very often,
Yep.
mass shooters are inspired to commit their crimes by other mass shooters. But those are a little bit
That's
different
insane.
because those mass shooters are, in a sense, sort of angry suicides. They're people that are sort of at the end of their rope and they're ready to die to do it. So that's a little bit
And they
different,
take
but it
people
would
out,
not
then take
surprise me at
themselves
all
out.
if he was someone that was fascinated by true crime, especially if he made the statement about wanting to have a movie made about it.
What about the specifics of the alleged movie? And there are still a lot of unanswered questions about this movie, whether he's saying, I wanted somebody to portray me in a feature-length film, or whether it was a documentary. Does any of that matter at all?
It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter in the sense that it's not a defense. If he's saying that he did it for there to be a movie made about it, then in a sense he's saying it was premeditated. This is something that he planned to do.
Did both of them get killed?
He had a motive in mind, and so I think that would make him
I'm so thrown off. There's
guilty
so
of
many people
first-degree
being
murder.
shown.
But again, until we have all the facts, very hard to say.
I also asked Dr. Bober about what this alleged motive could mean if it comes time for a trial.
Maybe
Would
he was
that
just
be
like a
unique
nerd that
motive
loves serial
if
killers.
prosecutors come to a jury trial, let's say, and they present it and say, the motive in this case was that he wanted to have a movie made about him. Is that something you've ever seen before?
I have never seen that before, and I don't know that a jury would buy that. I would think you would need something more. I think you would need some axe to grind or some grudge that he held against these people. And then if you add in the movie motive, maybe it would make sense, but that on its face seems like a little bit of a weak motive. I think there's other ways to get attention besides doing that.
But Dr. Bober says there are other possibilities for a motive than just Truesdale's dream to be in a movie. So let's put that aside, this notion that he potentially wanted to be in a movie or a true crime documentary, whatever it might be. If we're looking for the motive,
He
let's say
made
that
it.
that's not part of it. How would investigators determine what a motive would be? Would they have to speak with him? Maybe a psychologist or psychiatrist talk to him? What do you think the next steps are?
I think the first thing we have to do is establish what his connection was to these victims. And I think, again, you have to look at cell phone records, email, social media, see if they have any friends that are in common, and obviously sitting down and speaking with him and interviewing him and potential psychological testing, looking at his psychiatric history. Was he ever admitted to a psychiatric hospital? Did he have a history of violence? Did he have a history of previous violent offenses that he was arrested for or incarcerated for? Was he a user of substances? For example, we know that the violence risk level goes up if people use substances. Was he someone who was able to hold down a job? Or was he someone who was very impulsive and often act before he thought and wasn't able to function in life? These are all things we would need to look at to get a full picture of him.
Being just days away from the brutal murders, Dr. Bober says there's still a lot of investigative work ahead. And as investigators are working on this case, I'm sure they're going to go back into his past, as you've alluded to before. Do you think it's possible or even probable that they go back and find that he maybe has lesser offenses or other instances that could have foreshadowed what happened?
I would find it hard to believe that with this level of violence,
Look at the animal
that there
history.
wasn't previous violence in his past. Now, maybe he was never caught for it, maybe he was never arrested, maybe it was never detected. But with this level of violence being so intense, I have to believe that he's committed other violent acts in the past.
Right now, Truesdale faces 4 charges of first-degree murder, meaning prosecutors believe this crime was premeditated. But from the facts that we're looking at as we know right now, what do you think? Was this a psychotic break, or was this premeditated and he really thought this through?
So I think it's, as you said, still very early yet. But again, we are getting more away from this being simply an act of rage where he acted on impulse. And again, the time that it took to take out all 4 people in this manner, sort of the pendulum swings it being more premeditated than an impulse crime. But I guess that remains to be seen.
Psychotic. People like this actually exist. Killing people to be in the movie. Was it an anger kill? I said anger kill, y'all. Somebody who's angry. Was it a reason? Did he just hate everything, hate his life, thought his life was over? You got a kid and then your kid don't got a father. It's like, there are people that really exist like that. Maybe he lost his wife. Maybe she left. You see, stuff like that. That's why I'm going to stay on this case, because I'm curious. Because stuff like that do be the reason why people do stuff. They might have lost their whole family and everything went out the deep end. But I'm like, dude, you look like he took like 4 people's lives in a short amount of time. You became a serial killer like overnight. And yeah, I don't know, but this is crazy. I can't believe that like people like this. It's like, I'm gonna stop saying that. Yes, I can. This world is all kind of weird, filled with weird people who just want to know what it felt like to kill. And maybe that could have been a reason too. So many motives, y'all. What was it? It's just sad. I was trying to figure out, I was like, who is who? Because I'm like, are they showing so many faces? But you know what's also the last thing I'm gonna leave y'all with? It's so creepy. I always think it's so eerie to see pictures of people who passed away. I was like, they was here like just here and then they're gone. It's so sad to think about that stuff. Like, that's really emotional looking at those, like looking at pictures, anybody pictures like that. You'd be like, they're really like, they can't come back. And people don't think about that when they murder somebody, or they just don't care. But you know what's funny? It was weird, not really funny, but it's funny on their part. The fact that every time somebody takes a life like this, gruesomely, they never want to die. It's like they're afraid to die themselves. And that's the exact reason why they should put them to death. On that, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. What are your thoughts on this case? Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye. Stay safe out there. Be aware of all your surroundings. Don't let nobody come up behind you. Be safe.